This East Asian picture depicts a square version of Mount Meru and the oceans and islands of Bhumandala, surmounted by planetary orbits. This Korean wheel map shows a central continent surrounded by a circular ocean and another circular continent. Joseph Needham, in his treatise on Chinese science, traces these wheel maps to India or Babylon. Here is a Babylonian wheel map. Wheel maps were also made in medieval Europe. In these Judeo-Christian maps, Jerusalem and the sacred hill called Mount Zion were identified as the world axis. Somehow or other, the tradition of Jambudweep seems to have influenced Gerardus Mercator, who placed a mountain surrounded by a circular continent at the north pole of his map of the Arctic region. The 4 perpendicular rivers or channels flowing from the central mountain correspond to the 4 branches of the celestial Ganges flowing from Mount Meru. Here is a Phoenician seal with a personified world mountain and 4 streams issuing forth at right angles. The Dogon tribe, living near the upper bend of the Niger River, posit a circular continent with a central pillar surmounted by the residence of their high god, Amma. Note the world-girdling serpent in the circular ocean. The ethnologist Evans Wentz identifies this Navajo sand painting as a representation of the 4 sacred directional mountains of the Navajos. In many traditions, the world mountain is surrounded by 4 mountains in the cardinal directions, and we also see this in the Bhagavatam and other Puranas. The color scheme is similar to that found in Puranic and Buddhist traditions. The 4 directional mountains of Jambudweep have 4 sacred trees on their summits. These include the Jambu tree, after which Jambudweep is named. The theme of a cosmic tree of life is very common, and this tree often grows on the world mountain or stands in place of it. Here we see the Scandinavian tree of life called Yggdrasil. The apocryphal biblical literature describes a tree of life with 4 rivers of honey, milk, oil, and wine that flow down into Eden. For comparison, the Bhagavatam has rivers of special juices flowing from its 4 sacred trees. This Assyrian seal shows the tree of life on the world mountain plus 2 sacred streams. In this East Asian picture, the tree of life stands upon the column of Mount Meru, centered on the ring pattern of Bhumandala. The Mayans of Central America have a tree of life that extends through 7 heavens, and they also speak of 5 lower worlds. Graded heavens and underworlds are found in many cosmologies, including that of the Bhagavatam. Here we see the cosmology of the Shipibo tribe of the Peruvian Montea. This includes the tree of life, the circular continent and surrounding ocean, and the world-girdling serpent. The cosmology of the Warao of the Orinoco Delta also features a serpent of being that surrounds their world. Here we see the Norse serpent that surrounds Midgard, the inhabited world of Norse cosmology. The Bhagavatam places a universal serpent called Anantashesha beneath Bhumandala. He is generally depicted as supporting the earth from beneath, but the Mahabharata also says that he encircles her in his coils. The Bhagavatam places the cities of Brahma and the 8 Lokapalas on top of Mount Meru. Similarly, many traditions place the abode of the gods on top of their axial mountain or pillar. Here is the geometric layout of the cities of the 8 Lokapalas, or world guardians. These figure in the Vastu Purusha mandala used to lay out temples in traditional Indian architecture. The grid of the Vastu Purusha mandala is also associated with the nakshatra constellations marking the ecliptic. Thus, the earthly side of the temple was connected with the heavenly realm of the ecliptic. This brings us back to our interpretation of Bhumandala, the circle of the earth, with the solar system. In India, it was traditional to identify the Earth, or a localized part of the Earth, with the heavens. We see the same thing in many traditions where the cosmic axis is identified with a mountain or cultural center. Bhumandala as a map of the celestial realm of the demigods. Bhumandala can also be understood as a map of the celestial realm of the demigods. One curious feature of Jambudvip is that the Bhagavatam describes all of the Varshas, or regions, other than Bharatavarsha, as heavenly realms, where the inhabitants live for 10,000 years without suffering. This has led some scholars to suppose that Indians used to imagine foreign lands as celestial paradises. However, the Bhagavatam does refer to barbaric peoples outside India, such as Huns, Greeks, Turks, and Mongolians, who are hardly thought to live in paradise. One way around this is to suppose that Bharatavarsha includes the entire Earth globe, while the other 8 Varshas refer to celestial realms outside the Earth. This is a common understanding in India, and it is illustrated by this 19th century South Indian diagram, where the Earth globe is identified with Bharatvarsha. But the simplest explanation of the heavenly features of Jambudvip is that Bhumandala was intended to represent the realm of the demigods. Like the other interpretations we have considered, this one is based on a cluster of mutually consistent points in the cosmology of the Bhagavatam. The first point is that the demigods are portrayed as being so large that we are literally like ants in comparison with them. For example, this picture shows the size of Lord Shiva in relation to Europe, based on dimensions given in the Bhagavatam. This explains the enormous sizes attributed to mountains, trees, and other features in Jambudvip. Although Jambudvip refers to a region of this earth, it doubles as a realm of demigods of superhuman size. How can mere humans meet and interact with such gigantic beings? The answer is that travel from this earth to the celestial realm may involve a great expansion in size. For example, in the Bhagavatam story of Matsya Avatar, King Satyavrata of South India finds a remarkable fish. Later on, the fish expands to 8 million miles in length and pulls the king on a boat through a cosmic deluge covering Bhumandala. Systematic changes in size are carried out using the siddhis, or mystic powers, called anima, size reduction, and mahima, size expansion. According to the Bhagavatam, these powers are based on the transcendental form of Vishnu, who is larger than the universes as Mahavishnu and smaller than an atom as the Supersoul. There are also siddhis which enable one to take shortcuts across space. This is illustrated by a story from the Bhagavatam in which the mystic yogini Chitralekha abducts Aniruddha from his bed in Dwarka and transports him mystically to a distant city. In addition to moving from one place to another in ordinary space, the mystic cities enable one to travel in the all-pervading ether or to enter another continuum. A classical example of a parallel continuum is Krishna's transcendental realm of Vrindavan, which is said to be unlimitedly expansive. This transcendental realm is said to exist in parallel to the finite earthly Vrindavan in India. A story from about 500 years ago tells of how Dukhi Krishnadas found an ankle ornament belonging to Radharani that fell into this dimension from the transcendental Vrindavan. He subsequently met a gopi who came from that realm to retrieve the ornament. Later on, Dukhi Krishnadas, who is now known as Shaimananda, entered the same transcendental realm in meditation. Thus, the transfer from one continuum to another depends on the traveler's state of consciousness. The Sanskrit literature abounds with stories of parallel worlds.